Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. Still very quiet across the tropics. Nice little break here after that quick start to the season. You look across the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, all across the Caribbean. What we're looking at here is that wind shear. So tropical systems, to develop and to intensify, they don't want to see a lot of wind shear. They need lighter winds in the atmosphere. And what we're seeing right now is just to the north of the Caribbean. We've got this upper level low which is spinning. That is helping to produce some stronger wind shear. In that region across the Gulf of Mexico, we have very light winds. And then you also see this other stronger area of wind shear down across the central Caribbean. As we work our way out into the Atlantic, now typically we don't look this far out this time of the year, but this has so far proven not to be a typical year. You do see one wave, a pretty impressive wave, working its way off the coastline, but just to the south of that, there is that stronger wind shear. The other thing that we're looking at is just a lot of dry air. We've been talking about this for a number of days. That dry Saharan air, that dust in the atmosphere, we're seeing a lot of that across the Caribbean. We're also seeing a lot of that out into the eastern and the central Atlantic. Big plume of that worked its way off the coast several days ago, and that will just continue to stream in our direction as we go through the next several days. So that is going to be our friend as we continue through probably about the next week or so. You watch the Fox model, watch that big plume. Very interesting to watch how that just continues to build and push in our direction. So eventually that may come into play as we head towards the weekend as far as our rain chances here in Florida. But what it's also doing is it is really holding everything at bay across a good portion of the Atlantic with all that dry air. Of course, now, we're still in that part of the season. We're early on. You have to remember that through the month of July, it's considered a fairly quiet time. These are the areas that we are typically watching through the month of July. I show you this because we're now halfway through the month and a little sneak peek into August. This is what you typically expect to look at as far as development regions once you get into the month of August. So it shows you that we really start to expand the areas we're watching, not only because of the warm waters, but that wind shear, that typically goes down, which we're seeing some light winds, but then also on top of that, a lot of that Saharan dust. That starts to settle down, and we really are looking for those conditions to become much more ideal as we head into the month of August. So we'll talk more about this, and we'll keep you updated right here on myfoxhurricane.com.